How's it going, everybody? Hope you guys are doing well. In this video, I'm going to go over the setup for the Twisted Hobbies 43-inch turbo Big Beaver wing with the DX18 radio. So I'm going to cover the flaperon setup, the front flap setup, and then the mix to get the front flaps and the ailerons working together for that really good roll rate. So I'll go over the basic setup and how to create those mixes to get your wing working just like that. This is the Lemon DSM2 receiver from Twisted Hobbies. It has 10 channels, so plenty for this airplane. Also has a small satellite on it. One thing I like to mention, guys, is if you're getting to the hobby, thinking about getting a radio, think about getting more radio than you need at the start if you can afford to do so. Because when you're starting out, you're thinking about getting a 3-channel plane, 4-channel plane. DX6 seems like plenty of radio. But if you get into things more and you get a plane like this needs 7 channels and at least 2 3-position switches to get the most out of the wing. Or you might get into warbirds that need channels for flaps and retracts and lights, or gliders that need lots of channels. So very quickly you can progress and find that you need more radio than you have. So if you can afford it, get more radio than you need right at the start, and you'll probably find yourself growing into it. So I'll go over the channels, how they're plugged in on this receiver as they relate to the mixes that I'm going to set up and show you guys. So pretty straightforward. Throttle goes to throttle, elevator to elevator, and rudder to rudder. As far as the wing goes, I have 4 servos all going to a different channel. Right aileron goes to the aileron port. Left aileron goes to aux1, right front flap goes to gear, and left front flap goes to aux2. So once more, right aileron to aileron, left aileron to aux1, right front flap to gear, and left front flap to aux2. And before I actually set up the linkages on an airplane, I do like to bind the radio to the plane so that I can have all the servos centered and then mechanically get everything as centered as possible. This is not an AS3X receiver, so feel free to use subtrim to make those final adjustments to get everything completely centered and neutral. So let's go ahead and now take a look at the radio. All right, guys, I'm going to turn on the radio, pushing in that right scroll button. And the first thing you want to do is select the model type, of course, and we're going to use airplane. That's obvious, I guess. And then go ahead, and once you have that, name the model, just using that scrolling right there. Of course, the airplane is not on right now. When I do all this stuff, I'm going to go into System Setup, and then go down to aircraft type, and then we have the different wing types, and you want to scroll through and select flaperon, and then go ahead and go back to the list and go back to the main screen. Now we're going to go down to flap system right here, and this is where we can set up the flaps, and I've already done it, so you can see that I have the flaps assigned to switch D. That's the left hand 3-position switch, but you can do it to whatever switch that you want. So position 1 is the center position, and that's 0, so that means that everything is going to be centered. And then you have position 0, which is the flaps up, or kind of spoilerons. And then you have flaps down at position 2. And I have these set at 60% and minus 60%. You can set them at whatever you want. Just go ahead and try different values. If you set them at 100%, they're going to move more than if you set them at 20%. So I have them set at 60%. They seem to be working pretty good. Speed is normal. If you want to slow down the flaps, this is how you do it. But with this airplane, you don't really need to do that. You can just pop them up and down. On a warbird or something like that, if you have flaps, you do want to usually slow them down a little bit so you don't have sudden changes in pitch. But leave that there. Switch D. That's basically it. You remember that left aileron went into aux1. Aux1 becomes left aileron when you have things set up as a flaperon system. So you can see that it's LAL right there. That's left aileron, and you have right aileron up towards the top. So it won't say aux1, it's going to say left aileron for you. And as you move the aileron stick like I am, you can see, well, everything's moving right now because I have that front flap set up, because that's also on the gear and the aux2. I can turn that off, and now you just see the ailerons moving together. So just to be aware of that, aux1 is going to be left aileron. Now that we've got the flaperons set up, we're going to go ahead and set up our mixes for the front flaps to work in tandem and also to work with the ailerons. So I'm going to click that right scroll button and go just below flap system to mixing. And here we have 3 basic mixes at the top. We're going to ignore those. And then we have 16 different mixes we can do with the DX18. So that's a lot of possible mixes. But the 3 we're interested in are right here, first 3. So aux2 to gear. This is connecting your flaps, front flaps together to work in tandem. Now the interesting thing is, because this radio is set up with flaperons, aux2 is moved to switch E automatically. So switch E, which is a 3-position switch in the top right corner, controls aux2. So when I mix aux2 to the gear, now both of those front flaps are on switch E. So I don't have to even assign any switch to it. All I have to do is mix them together 100% here. and then have them on. And I have everything set on switch E automatically, so that 3-position switch will raise and lower the front flaps. So that's the only mix you need to do to link those together. All right, now let's go to the mixes you need to connect the ailerons to your front flaps so they work together and give you that really nice roll. So we have 2 mixes, aileron to aux2 and aileron to gear. So go into this and we'll see that you want to use N aileron to aux2, and this is the rate you want to first use, -100 and -100. And I put this on switch H, which means I can actually turn it off and on. So if I don't want to have those front flaps working with the ailerons, I can hit that switch and they won't work together, or I can just have them working together all the time. So you don't need to put it on a switch if you just want them working together all the time, but you can do that. So this is the mix 2, set up like this, N aileron to aux2, -100, -100. Third mix, aileron to gear, N aileron to gear, 100%, 100%. These are positive mixes right here. And then you have the same thing, switch H. That's it. That's all the mixes you need to do. And you'll have the ailerons and the front flaps working together for that roll. Now I have 3 more mixes that I did right here, which are aux5 to flap, aux5 to gear, and aux5 to aux2. aux5 is this right slider switch on the side of the radio. So these mixes basically allow me to slide the front flaps up and the flaperons down, and I can control them on a slider switch. So if I want to take off with them for a short takeoff and not hit a bunch of switches to get everything level, I can just slide them back. So that's basically that mix. I'll show it to you guys real quick. So here's the first one, aux5 to flap, set up just like that. And that's the right knob. Okay, I'll show you the next one, which is aux5 to gear, set up like that. And this is entirely optional. I haven't even flown the airplane with this yet, so I can't even say whether it's a good thing to do or not a good thing to do, but it does work. And there's aux5 to aux2. That's the setup to get it completely working with those front flaps and the flaperons on the slider. And I just want to show you guys real quick that slider. So you do the front flaps up and the flaperons down. So you can do the short takeoff and then just slide them back up. You can do it slow or quick, but you don't have to hit the 2 switches to do that. So anyway, I haven't flown it like that yet, just an idea I had. That's how it works. This is the wing setup for the Twisted Hobbies 43-inch Turbo Crack Big Beaver. I hope that was helpful, guys. If you have any questions or comments, please post them below. I'll try to help you guys out if you're setting it up. This is, again, the DX18 radio, so other radios might be a little bit different, but the general idea should be kind of the same. Awesome airplane, super fun to fly. Can't recommend it enough. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.